The final season of Game of Thrones is almost here. The 8th season is set to premiere this Sunday on HBO. And for those looking to brush up on their High Valyrian ahead of this weekend, the app Duolingo can help. Here's a bit of what the fictional language sounds like.
Dovageris! Naidon mevatas! Geletis! Zaldrizes buzdaris gosdaor. Valeria munioengos nuihis isa. Dracaris.
Drakas. David Peterson is the language creator and developer of Duolingo's High Valyrian course, and he joins me now. What's up?
Hey, that's my favorite scene from
It
the
is
show.
one of the great scenes in Game of Thrones. I love watching it, can watch it over and over again. So, all right, so help me understand. You created this language. Explain how you came up with it.
Well, of course, there was a little bit of the language in the books created by George R.R. Martin, but only a very little bit. Really, there were only two phrases. Valar morhulis, all men must die, and Valar dohairis, all men must serve. So basically, I used those as a template, fleshed out the rest of the verbal system, the rest of the noun system, and then built on from there so you could actually have a full language you could translate into.
That is so cool. So first of all, what is your background? I mean, do you have a background in linguistics or ethno-languages?
Yeah, so I was, I've been creating languages for 10 years before working on the first season of Game of Thrones. I started creating languages when I was a sophomore at UC Berkeley when I took my very first linguistics course, and it just kind of sparked it in me. Thereafter, I went on to major in linguistics. I got my master's in linguistics from UC San Diego. But yeah, I was creating languages the entire time, and so when I got the opportunity to create a language for Game of Thrones, I was ready.
That's so cool. So we were talking a little bit about this earlier. I mean, is it kind of wild for you to see, random people, to see people on social media using the language, and they may not be fluent in it, but they know some of the words. I imagine it's much in the same way that Klingon became a language for people. There are people who could actually write books in Klingon. Do you feel like you're getting to that point where it's entered into the cultural zeitgeist?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it was a little weird the very first time. I remember when people started wanting to try to learn the language, and they started complaining. It was like, oh, this is really hard. And I was like, but do you know how hard it was to create that? Like, that was the point. That was the point. It's been fun, though.
Yeah, it is. But so I also think it's kind of remarkable. You'll probably have a better insight than just my sort of dime store, like sort of pop culture psychology. But the fact that it's hard for adults to learn language. For example, I'm still trying to learn Mandarin Chinese after like years and years of applying myself, and I struggle all the time. And yet you've got people that are like able to speak, High Valyrian and probably can't speak a word of Spanish. What's up with the brain and understanding languages?
Well, there's two things to it. First, yeah, it is a little bit harder for adults to learn language than kids. Kids just do it really, really easily. But of course, adults have a lot of responsibilities. And I mean, you have to pay bills, you have a job, and then you have social obligations. The truth is, to learn a language, you need to devote a little bit of study to it every single day. You need to be constantly exposed to it. Something that kids get for free, right? They don't even have to feed themselves. We do.
Yeah.
And so, and also there has to be motivation there, because the motivation is going to help you break through your other obligations to actually devote time to a language. So when people are really interested in something like Game of Thrones and they're really big fans, I mean, that's part of what helps them to get over that. They actually want to devote time to learning the language, and so they're able to do it.
That's true. And if you have the time, you can download Duolingo and you can take a course in High Valyrian.
Yeah, the thing I love about Duolingo the most when it comes to language learning is that it's basically specially designed for you to devote little portions of your day to learning the language, so that it's not like you sit down and it's like, okay, I'm going to try to learn this whole language right now and devote all of my resources to it. No, it's supposed to be like 5 minutes a day, a little bit of exposure, you build it up over time. That's how you learn a language. And so, yeah, you can learn High Valyrian, you can learn a ton of other languages on Duolingo, and you can really do it in your spare time. Honestly, on your smartphone, you could do it while sitting on the toilet. It's that easy.
It's pretty cool. How hard hard was it? You said it's pretty easy. How hard was it to teach the actors? I mean, I suspect that most actors are good at picking up languages because they are often called upon to speak in languages that they don't speak, or even take on accents that are not originally theirs.
Oh yeah, they're definitely old hat at it, and it's easier for some than others. The nice thing is that, of course, they don't have to learn the language; they just they need to learn how to pronounce it correctly and to kind of sell the performance. And really, that's the thing that they excel at. So for me, all I did was I recorded every single line exactly as it's supposed to be spoken on the show. And since everybody's got a smartphone, they just listen to it, repeat, listen, repeat, listen, repeat, and by the time it comes time to air, I mean, they're perfect.
That's cool. How do I say bend the knee?
Bend the knee. Oh my gosh, I don't even remember.
Yeah.
Can you pull it up for me? How do
I don't, but you will figure it out afterwards. But that's pretty cool. Anyway, David Peterson, thank you so much for stopping by, man. It's such a cool, this is such a great story. I'm glad you're able to share it with us.
Okay, Girimbose, that's how we say
wait,
thank you
what
in
is
High
it?
Valyrian. Girimbose.
Girimbose, Anthony. Thank you, David. That was awesome.
Right, thanks.